The clerical spell Harm from Dungeons & Dragons has undergone some changes over the years, and while we've seen some small changes between the 2014 version and the new 2024 version found in the new player's handbook, I wanted to go all the way back to the first edition of Advanced Dungeons & Dragons and see exactly how it's changed over the years. GameMasters here, and back in the first edition of Advanced D&D, the spell Harm sort of existed, except it was called Heal. Bear with me. But the Heal spell was reversible. It fell under Necromancy, which may seem a touch odd for a spell that could heal you, but even back then, necromantic spells manipulated the energies of life and death, which includes healing. Heal in the first edition of AD&D was accessible once your cleric hit level 6. You had to be touching your target, and it was a permanent effect, well, until they took damage at some point in the future. It had verbal and somatic components, and it took 1 round to cast. Heal could remove disease and injury. It could 100% cure any disease, could cure blindness, and would heal all but 1d4 damage. So if you had 20 hit points and took 19, if someone cast Heal on you, you'd see your hit points get restored to at least 16, possibly more. But this is where Harm comes in. Because the Heal spell is reversible, Harm is its opposite. This means that you could inflict your target with a disease, but you could also cause a massive loss of hit points, leaving the target with just 1d4 of them. There was very little change to the Heal spell and subsequently the Harm spell when 2nd edition D&D came out, but they did add that the healing side could also cure mental disorders that were caused by spells or injuries to the brain. While it didn't specify that Harm could cause that, we could infer that by casting Harm, one could possibly cause a mental disorder. When 3rd edition came out, we saw a few changes, the biggest of which was that Harm was now its own spell. It was still a level 6 clerical spell. It was still under the Necromancy category. Components were still the same. You still had to touch the target to cause harm, and the actual effect of it still caused a loss of all but 1d4 hit points. But here's where the big change came into play. If you targeted an undead creature with harm, it would instead heal them. The edition known as 3.5 made a massive change to the Harm spell, perhaps the biggest change so far. Instead of taking all but 1d4 hit points away, it would now deal 10 points of damage per caster level up to a maximum of 150 points, which could potentially just all out destroy the creature inflicted. But it also added in that if you successfully save against it, you'd only take half the damage. Of course, casting it on an undead still heals them. They did leave that part unchanged. 4th edition didn't exactly have a version of either heal or harm, where it would either heal all but 1d4 hit points or drain you for all but 1d4 hit points. Sure, there were some healing spells. 4th edition didn't call them spells for the cleric. They were cleric features, clerical attacks, or clerical utilities. And healing was more based off of the individual's healing surge, which was a mechanic that allowed anyone to heal themselves for 1/4 of their maximum hit points. 5th edition, however, brought back harm, but one of the biggest changes was its range. Where past editions had it so that you had to touch the creatures, 5th edition let you cast it from up to 60 feet away from your target. Another change was that you had to make a Constitution saving throw, and on a failed save, you'd take 14d6 necrotic damage, or half as much if your save was successful. Where 3.5 could potentially destroy your target, this 5th edition version would not be able to drop the hit points to below 1. Moreover, if the target failed the save, that hit point maximum was reduced for 1 hour, equal to the amount of necrotic damage it took. For example, if you normally had a hit point maximum of 50 and you took 42 points of damage, your hit point maximum would now be 8. Temporarily, for 1 hour, of course. Likewise, if you had 50 total hit points as your maximum and the damage was capped out at 84, 14d6 would be 84, you'd drop down to 1 hit point, and your temporary maximum would be 1 hit point. This was quite a massive change from anything we had seen previously. Harm in the 2024 version of the Player's Handbook does not alter what the spell does. It simply shortens the wording and makes it a bit more streamlined. What it does not specify that the previous 2014 version did is that it no longer states that the reduction of the target's hit point maximum is temporary, which should prove to be fun for rules lawyers to insist that the hit point maximum cannot be restored, which is exactly why I wanted to do a cross comparison of this spell specifically. I know we've gone over rules as written versus rules as intended in past videos, but this is an instance of where, at least at my table, I'll be looking at the basics of how harm has worked in the past. And after an hour, you'll get your hit point maximum restored to normal. You may still only have one hit point, and it may be a challenge in that hour to stay alive, but I think it's just silly to expect that harm in the 2024 version of this book is going to permanently change your hit point maximum. I want to thank everyone for watching today's video. If you found it interesting and enjoyed it, I only ask that you give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. This lets me know to do more videos in a similar way. I also want to thank my channel supporters, as their contributions have been beyond. And if you'd like to support the channel by becoming a YouTube or Patreon member, I've got a link down in the description that you can check out. I'd also highly encourage that you check out the GameMasters Discord. We have got some fantastic conversation going on in the Discord almost daily, and if you'd like to help shape the future of this channel, it's from conversations in there that a lot of the ideas for my videos come from. I'll leave an invite link down in the description for that as well. We can see how harm has changed over the years, and I had a tremendous amount of fun researching the changes, going back to the early editions, moving on up to this most current one. But I want to hear from you. What do you think of these changes? For me, I think I'm going to make an altered version of the spell that appears in this book so that it continues to heal the undead, even though in 5th edition that element was removed. Again, let me know what you think of how harm has changed over the years. Let's keep the conversation going down in the comments, and until next our paths cross, may you not have a hit point maximum of only 1.